They'll never tell you this, but it's why they left. You were growing and they weren't ready to grow with you. Because sometimes people leave not because you did anything wrong, but because they weren't prepared to face their own insecurities. It's easier for them to walk away than to admit they weren't ready for the kind of love you offered. When someone leaves without explanation, it often has more to do with their fears than your flaws. They'll never say it, but your strength may have reminded them of everything they're not yet ready to become. And sometimes, people leave because staying means facing parts of themselves they're not ready to confront. They didn't leave because you were too much. They left because they weren't enough for the version of you they saw. Their silence speaks louder than any words. It says they lacked the courage to meet you where you deserve to be met. It's not that you weren't lovable. It's that they couldn't see past their own insecurities to love you fully. They walked away because staying meant vulnerability, and vulnerability felt like weakness to them. You deserved someone who could stand beside you through the storms, not someone who ran at the first sign of rain. They may have loved you, but they loved their comfort zone even more. They'll never admit it, but your light may have exposed the shadows they weren't ready to face. Sometimes, people leave because they're scared of being truly seen, and you saw them too clearly. Their departure wasn't a reflection of your worth, it was a reflection of their fears. And they didn't leave because you lacked anything. They left because you reminded them of what they lacked within themselves. The hardest part of their leaving isn't the loss. It's knowing they didn't have the strength to stay and grow with you. They left because it was easier to run than to rise to the level of love and commitment you offered. They'll never say it, but they left to protect their ego, not because you weren't good enough. Sometimes, people leave because they know deep down they're not capable of giving you what you deserve. And they walked away, not because they didn't care, but because caring meant responsibility, and they weren't ready for that. You challenged them to grow, but they weren't ready to leave the comfort of who they've always been. It's not that they didn't feel anything for you, it's that they weren't brave enough to feel it all. And their leaving was their way of saying, I'm not ready to be who you need me to be. They may have loved you, but their fear of failure outweighed their desire to make it work. You were a mirror reflecting their potential, and they weren't ready to see what they could become. Sometimes people leave because they fear the depth of love you offer. It feels overwhelming to them. They'll never tell you, but your presence may have forced them to confront their own emptiness. Their absence isn't your failure, it's their inability to rise to the level of your growth. And they left because staying meant accountability, and they weren't ready to take it. You didn't lose them. They lost the chance to grow alongside someone extraordinary. They may never admit it, but their leaving wasn't about you. It was about running from themselves. Sometimes, people leave because they're scared you'll see the parts of them they've been hiding even from themselves. And they didn't leave because they stopped caring. They left because caring required them to face their own wounds. It's not that you were too much, it's that you were everything they weren't ready to handle.